Hello! I just remembered that this YouTube channel exists and I can share videos here. Facebook is causing troubles for me. They don't seem to want to help either. So I might be sharing from YouTube more often. But today I'm going to continue reading what I was reading in the group Teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh and the group Buddha Gang. This is a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, Understanding Our Mind. In this book, he is teaching us about Buddhist psychology. And it's wonderful. It's an old system. It's also called a Vijnana Vada, the teaching on the Vijnanas. And Vijnana is usually translated as consciousness. But it's a specific kind of consciousness. If you look at the word form, you can see it's dualistic discrimination. And it's responsible for all these things that we see. This system of dualistic discrimination creates what the Buddha called the world, the loka dhatu. The loka is the field of activity of the mind. The mind is said to create mind and matter, nama and rupa. So I'm just trying to give some background before I start reading, because this is the 7th verse by Vasubandhu, who is that ancient Buddhist teacher from that Buddhist psychology school that I was talking about. So Thich Nhat Hanh is using these verses from Vasubandhu to present Buddhist psychology. And all these verses are on the mind. And so far we're talking about store consciousness. It's the 8th layer of this mind system. And we're on the 7th verse out of 50. After the verse, Thai comments and helps us understand what's being said. Habit energies. The function of store consciousness is to receive and maintain seeds and their habit energies, so they can manifest in the world or remain dormant. The seeds that we receive from our ancestors, past lives, friends, and society are held in our consciousness, just as the earth holds the seeds that fall upon it. Like the seeds in the earth, the seeds in our store consciousness are usually hidden from us, unless we look for them. We are seldom in contact with them. Only when they manifest in experience do we recognize they're there. When we feel happy, we may believe that there is no seed of anger in us. Or when we feel generous, we might think there is no greed in us. But all the seeds are always there. It's our task to not nourish certain seeds and to nourish other seeds. And how do we nourish seeds? Through action of mind, body, and speech. Oh, there was a comment. I saw a comment for a second. I don't know how to use YouTube. Oh, there. Oh, hey Ken. Cool. You found me. I guess I'm gonna start sharing more to YouTube now. Facebook is not friendly. So, when we have happiness, we might imagine that the seeds of violence and hatred and anger are just not there. But they are there. As soon as someone irritates us, our seed of anger will make itself known. Habit energy is an important term in Buddhist psychology. Our seeds carry the habit energies of thousands of years. The Sanskrit term for habit energy, vasana, means to permeate, to impregnate. So it's like how the smell of a rotting carcass will be carried by the wind. The wind is permeated by that fragrance. And in the same way, our actions are carried on the wind of mind, just like a nasty fragrance. So when we do harmful things, our mind continuum stinks. When we are deluded and angry and we act, those actions are usually stinky. But we can also perfume the mind continuum, and it can smell good. So Ty is talking about this now. If you want to make jasmine tea, you pick jasmine flowers, put them in a box together with the tea, close it tightly, and leave it for several weeks. The fragrant jasmine penetrates deeply into the tea leaves. The tea will then smell of jasmine because it has absorbed the perfume of the jasmine blossoms. Our store consciousness also has a strong capacity to receive and absorb fragrances. And remember, these fragrances are created by our actions. Thinking is action, speaking is action, and doing things with our body is action. And action is karma. Actions always have results, and the results of actions are related to the intentions behind the actions, according to the Buddha. Or at least those actions are flavored by intention. It's like the intention is like a spice. Makes it, palatable or not. So, as we learn about the mind as a field full of seeds, we see that we are farmers on this field. And what we do matters. Everything we do matters. When we go out into the field, we nourish this part of the field, and we don't nourish that part of the field. In this part of the field, the plants grow up and manifest as experiences in conscious awareness. But over there, in that part of the field we've neglected, the plants don't grow, the seeds don't grow. So we don't experience those manifestations. But when those regions that have been neglected are touched by ourselves or others, then those seeds will make themselves known. And my phone's gonna die, so I'm not gonna get much further in this reading. But before I go, I want to mention, because Tai is talking about habit, I've been thinking about the aggregates, the skandhas. And there's one that Thich Nhat Hanh usually translates as mental formations. And for a long time, I had uncertainty, like what is this mental formations? And so I started looking more deeply into the Pali Buddhist teachings, which are early and very systematic, well defined. And I started seeing that this aggregate is habit. It's habit energy. Mental formations, I would translate it as habits, volitional formations. So we have the first aggregate, form. Forms are experienced by the vijnanas as sights, sounds, smells, tastes, tactile sensations, and thoughts. So these are all forms. They appear to the vijnanas, to consciousness, to dualistic discrimination. And then, when the forms appear, they're associated with feelings. Feelings come in 3 flavors: pleasant, unpleasant, and neither pleasant nor unpleasant, according to the Buddha. This is the second aggregate, feeling. And when a form appears with a feeling, there is a perception. And that would be the third aggregate. With many perceptions over time, with many forms and many feelings, like systems of perception form. And these are habits. Earlier in this book, Tai was talking about how we habitually misperceive reality. And this would be due to the activity of these aggregates with clinging. And that last with clinging is important. In the Pali Suttas, there are the aggregates with clinging and without clinging. The victors, the ones who've reached the goal, they still appear through form and feeling and all the others. They still appear. The aggregates are still active, but there isn't clinging. And so the habit energies are transformed. And the last aggregate is usually translated as consciousness. But I think it makes more sense to call it like dualistic discrimination. All of these streams of consciousness, the seeing and the hearing and the smelling and the tasting and the touching and the thinking, they're dualistic in nature. They only make sense in a dualistic context. So, this is the mind system that we're talking about as a field full of seeds. There are a few ways to talk about this stuff. And I just showed you another way to talk about it by understanding and using the ideas of these aggregates, these heaps or collections: form, feeling, perception, habit energy, and consciousness. But remember, consciousness kind of represents the whole thing. Consciousness is dualistic knowing, split knowing, vijnana. And now that I'm on YouTube, I might start reading the book over again tomorrow. I'm happy my friend reminded me that YouTube exists. I've been working in the sphere of Facebook for so long. I gave up on YouTube a long time ago because there just wasn't as much opportunity for community. But there is community in place in the realm of Facebook. So I might be able to use that with some YouTube and continue on my way despite the difficulties the world presents. So yeah, thank you for being my friend. And I'll talk to you later if I can figure out how to end this live video. Dang it. How do I end it? Oh, there we go. Okay, bye-bye.